Hello again, everybody. Sparkster1701 here, and today we're going to take a look at one of the characters from the 1986 animated movie. This is the Decepticon Sweep Leader, Scourge. Now, this version of Scourge was only available in 1986, as in 1987 he would become a very rare and difficult to find Target Master version, and we'll cover Target Master Scourge on a future video. Right now, we just want to pay attention to the original toy. Now, Scourge, as everybody remembers from the animated movie, if you haven't seen that, spoiler alert here, Scourge was one of the units made by Unicron out of the remains of Thundercracker. Which is kind of ironic, since many bits of the lore describe Thundercracker as someone who's not totally devoted to the Decepticon cause, and then once he gets reformatted over here into Scourge, he becomes a fanatical warrior to the Decepticon cause. Amazing what a little bit of power will do to some people. Of course, as we also remember from the movie, Scourge was the leader of the Sweeps, minions that basically looked a lot like him, and they were made from the remains of Kickback and Shrapnel. Scourge, like many of the other heroes from the 1986 animated feature, look somewhat different than how they appeared in the movie, as they were first designed for their toy modes and then given over to the animation studio to draw them, and they would be drawn somewhat differently. The most noticeable thing is the fact that the sides here of Scourge's vehicle mode are depicted more in the movie as some sort of like demonic bat wings, which make him look considerably more intimidating than how his toy looks. But they still did manage to capture and retain the somewhat grandpa look that's featured on his face. Taking a look now at the articulation of Scourge, and he does have a fair amount, surprisingly enough, for a Transformer. His arms, as you can see, they do bend here at the elbow. He does have some ratcheting, so that does help for holding the arm in certain positions. The only downside to it is that when you bend him fully at the elbow, it's not ratcheted there, so it tends to droop forward a bit. So that'll definitely mean you can't have him holding his gun at the elbow straight, because he'll always end up just drooping downwards like that. The arms can rotate, though, at the shoulder, and they're limited by how far back, by his wings, as to how far back he can go. Strangely enough, he does not have articulation at the hip, but he does have articulation at the knees to some degree, but the piece of this front piece to his vehicle mode gets in the way of it, so you're kind of limited on how he can pose his legs. I guess it's basically you're trying to do a flying mode here, trying to get him to go into the air, move his arms and up and away like Superman. Maybe Batman if he had a powered jetpack or something. And of course, he has some articulation here at the ankles. Now let's go ahead and transform Scourge. First thing he already did for us is remove his laser weapon. Next thing we need to do is straighten his arms out and fold them down so they're at his sides. The next thing we do is we fold down this chest panel, then fold his head down and line the two up to conceal his face. And then next, we take the sides of the vehicle mode and just pull them out to the front. Then we take this piece here on the back and fold it out before we push the sides of the vehicle together, like so. Then we straighten out his feet, fold them up, then you're going to rotate them to the side, like so. Then hold the ends together, adjust the feet, and just slide them in. And then we have his alternate mode, which the packaging and his instructions describe as a hovercraft, despite the fact that in many scenes of the movie he was shown flying in deep space rather than just a few inches above the ground. As Scourge was released in 1986, he does have a few variations available for him. One of them will be covered in his accessories here in a moment, but the most noticeable on him is the way this top piece here is on the toy. It's noticeable here on his hovercraft mode. On the original version of the toy, this was all painted blue. This is solid painted blue with a broken Decepticon symbol here in the center. For their cost-cutting moves later on in the year, that painted blue section will get replaced with just a large sticker. One large broken sticker instead of just the Decepticon symbol. And this version would also be carried over onto the Target Master version of the toy. So for those of you that are interested in variants, that is something to keep an eye out on. You'll just have to make sure when you find this version of it that it is the regular version of Scourge, not the Target Master. Alright, now let's take a brief look here at Scourge's accessories, and he only had two, which was starting to become almost par for the course by now in the Transformer line for guys of his price point. The first is, of course, his laser blaster gun. As you can see, it's rather interesting looking of a gun. He does have something of a sight on the top. Has no stock, and of course there's no trigger mechanism at all. It just connects here on this point. But interestingly enough, right here on this side of it is what looks like it could be the ammunition clip for his gun. And in some cases, that would seem to hint that he might prefer to shoot from his left hand, as that would be an easier way for him to allow me to drop the gun on the floor. But in reality, for him, it would more mean that he could reload the weapon faster and use that to brace the weapon as he fires. It's just a pity that the toy does not have the articulation to let him hold it that way. And then lastly, we have his disintegrator ray, which was renamed as a booster rocket for some weird reason on the Target Master version just the following year. Now this piece here is the one that has a variation to it. Early versions of this toy were in two pieces. All it takes is just a simple twist and pull. Then you have just this piece of the disintegrator, and then you have the tip of it. A little like that so you can see how big the knob is on it. And this more than likely caused a recall of the toy, although I don't remember ever hearing of a recall of the toy or anything on those lines. If any of you do recall hearing of a recall for the toy, please make sure to mention it in the comments. But as you can see, this was a pretty small piece, and that would have definitely gotten the Consumer Product Safety Commission to want the toy pulled, since this could easily be swallowed by young children. So, if you find a version of the disintegrator ray that's missing the back portion, that's what's up with it. Otherwise, otherwise it's just in one solid piece, like it would be for the Target Master version. Only the very early Scourge toys had this piece removable, and there really wasn't a reason for that. But it makes for a nice and unfortunately rarer toy to find. Alright, let's take a look now at the instructions for Scourge. And this basically, as you can see, it has the right gun on it. Something you'll want to check when you have loose versions of his instructions. And it lists down here he's an evil Decepticon. It's colored in purple to show that he is with the Decepticons, especially if you're illiterate and can't read that it says evil Decepticon on here. And we just open it up. Here's the page. It shows everything he's supposed to come with. And then you just go through the motions. They have you remove the disintegrator ray off of him, but in most of the media works, and especially the cartoon, he still retained it on his head. So that's kind of your personal preference here, viewers. I'm going to go with leaving it on there just because that's how he always looked. And here we get to how to apply the stickers. Which unfortunately on mine, buying him secondhand, the stickers were put on all willy-nilly on him. Something I guess you like to do when you want to have some fun or just a weird kid. Here on the last page we have the proof of authenticity bit with how to use the rub sign. And the mentioning of saving up the robot points. Since this was the final year, they released unique mail-away guys. After that, they did reissues of older toys. And then down here you have how to read his tech specs. And surprisingly, they were using the one for Blue Streak still, even though in 1986, when this toy came out, Blue Streak would be discontinued from the line. Now, for a real treat for you fans, we happen to have one of the boxes that Scourge came in. Get back here, camera. Let's get Scourge here out of the way, and we'll set the box up so that you can get a good look at it here. This would be a version of the box that came out after the movie would have been in theaters, as it has down here in the corner an advertisement for the glow-in-the-dark mini poster movie sweepstakes. The mini posters, there was a set of 4 of them that when all of them were together, they would form a larger battle picture. And they had hidden segments in the thing that glowed in the dark, so you had a totally different picture when the lights were out. Imagine the sight that you'd have for that in your bedroom, folks. This is the box. Up here at the top, you got a simplified version of how to transform him. And as you can see, even they leave the disintegrator ray on the top of his head. On the sides, you get basically pictures of him in robot and vehicle mode. Same thing here on the other side. And a close-up shot of it here on the bottom. And on the back side, we basically have a nice mural that was done for 1986, mainly to highlight the use of Metroplex and Trypticon, and showing off a few of the other movie heroes and other toys that were available in 1986. Down here on the right-hand side, to go along with the fact of it having the promotion mentioned here on the front, is a spot for you to write in to enter the contest without having to actually buy a Transformer. Now, seriously, folks, if you're not a fan of the toys, why would you want to enter the contest? I mean, the big grand prize was something like one of those Power Wheel vehicles that looked like Hot Rod. I mean, if you didn't like Transformers, why would you want to be seen driving around in that? Okay, getting on to the tech specs now. Right here, we have a nice picture of Scourge. Matches the picture here on the front of the box. It's all in purple and lists his faction as Decepticon. And gives his name as Scourge and his function as Sweep Leader. Which, while that's nice that it has him as that, it's just the big shame that Hasbro didn't take the initiative to release a generic sweep figure. The same could be held true for the Autobots in 1986, as Wreck-Gar is listed as a Junkion leader, and he does not have a generic Junkion. Anyway, Scourge's function is Sweep Leader, and his motto is Desolation follows in my trail. Scourge is a fearsome, merciless, and implacable hunter. Created from Decepticon wreckage, he leads the Sweeps, a wolf pack of tracker Terminators designed to hunt down and eradicate Autobots. Scourge possesses powerful high-tech scanning equipment and a disintegrator ray that can cut through solid rock. In robot mode, he carries a laser blaster that shoots short bursts of intense heat. Scourge's only weakness is his arrogance, which seemed to be common amongst the Decepticons, as even Starscream was considerably arrogant. Scourge and Cyclonus and Galvatron are worse due to the fact that they have the extra power enhanced from Unicron. It's nice that it listed that he does reference the movie by stating that he was created from Decepticon wreckage. They just kept it a secret as to whom, so as to avoid revealing spoilers for the movie. Moving on to his stats here, we'll put the decoder on there so it can be seen. And it gives his strength and intelligence at 8, his speed at 9, his endurance is what looks like a 7, his rank is 8, his courage is 9, his firepower is 8, and his skill is 8. So that makes him quite capable of backing up his claims of how powerful he is. Now, coincidentally, these stats here on Scourge also match the stats on his buddy Cyclonus. And this concludes my review of the G1 Decepticon Sweeps Leader Scourge. If you liked the video, I hope that you will give it a thumbs up, and please do hit the subscribe button down here. If you were thinking about getting yourself a Scourge figure, I hope you found this video informative. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch y'all later. Bye for now.